Okay, guys, we got to talk about Peacemaker Season 2, Episode 3, because what happened last week is going to change everything we thought we knew about the entirety of the DCU. I mean, Rick Flag Jr. is alive. Hey everyone, this is Digital Charcuterie. My name is James. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you're new to the channel and a fan of Peacemaker and the DCU, hit that subscribe button. I talk about it and discuss it with you all the time. Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on Peacemaker Season 2. You liking it so far? What are your likes, dislikes? Let me know in the comments down below. Yeah, okay, so Rick Flag Jr. is alive and well, but that's in an entirely other dimension, as Peacemaker calls it, the best dimension ever. And that's because it looks perfect on the surface, but you gotta believe it's totally rotten underneath. And James Gunn might have just cracked open one of the darkest corners of DC lore, Earth X. So buckle in, because this isn't just another fun cameo or multiverse tease. This is the kind of storytelling that sets the stage for how the DCU, the new DCU, I should say, is gonna deal with its own shadows. So let's start with the obvious. In this episode, Christopher Smith, aka the Peacemaker, lands in an alternate dimension where all his dreams basically have come true. His father is alive, his brother's alive, and together they're the smiling superhero squad called the Terrific Trio. And on top of that, Rick Flag Jr., the guy Peacemaker killed to death at the end of the Suicide Squad, is walking around alive and well. On paper, this looks like the perfect world. It's the life Christopher Smith always wanted but could never have. But here's the thing, and this is where James Gunn is being sneaky. It's a poop show. Look closer to the so-called paradise. Every single face we see is white. The streets are spotless, but in the creepy, artificial way, even the cultural touchstones don't line up. It's like the whole swaths of history just never happened. No diversity, no struggle, just this scrubbed-down version of America that feels too clean to be real. And that's not an accident. And that's a huge clue that we're looking at Earth X, which some people call Earth 10. The infamous timeline where the bad guys actually won and built a world that looks picture perfect but is fundamentally rotten. In the comics, Earth X is the world where fascism triumphed, where heroes were twisted into propaganda tools, and where resistance was the only real form of heroism left. And if this is Gunn's take on Earth X, then Peacemaker is standing in a trap disguised as a dream. And let's talk about Rick Flag Jr., because his return here is a massive gut punch. In Peacemaker's Earth, Flag's death was the moment that defined Peacemaker's guilt. That was the scar he couldn't shake, the reason he's always a half step away from self-destruction. Now, imagine seeing that same man alive again, but not quite the same. He's been molded by this world, shaped by its rules. He's not openly evil, but he's not the same principled soldier who died for what was right. He's a reflection of a corrupt system, and that makes him way more dangerous. This isn't a gift to Peacemaker. It's a test. It's the universe dangling his deepest regret right in front of him, saying, are you willing to accept a false version of this person if it means you have to face the pain of what you did? And then we get to the Harcourt twist, which makes this whole thing even nastier, because it's not just one Harcourt anymore. There are two. There's the Harcourt from Peacemaker's dimension, the one who's scarred, complicated, emotionally distant, and clearly still grieving everything they've been through. Then there's a Harcourt from the best dimension ever, who's warmer, softer, almost too perfect. This is not just another version of the same character. This is bait. It's designed to make Peacemaker feel comfortable, to make him think he finally has the love and connection he's always wanted. But it's fake. It's not earned. It's a performance shaped by the values of this twisted Earth. So think about what that means. Peacemaker is basically standing between two lives. On one side, the messy, painful, real connections he's built. A Harcourt who keeps her walls up. A memory of Flag who died doing the right thing. A life of guilt and mistakes, but grounded in truth. And on the other side, the alternate Earth that promises comfort, family, friendship, and even love. But only if he accepts a version of peace built on supremacy, conformity, and lies. That's the ultimate temptation. It's not about whether Chris can punch his way through another villain. It's about whether he can recognize the difference between real peace and a weaponized illusion of peace. Now here's where it gets even bigger. Earth X has always been more than just a dark mirror. In DC Comics, it's a world that forces heroes to reckon with the worst possible version of themselves and their society. It's Superman versus Overman, raised under fascism. It's Batman twisted into an enforcer of empire. And it's resistance fighters like freedom fighters who become the only hope for justice. Bringing Earth X into the DCU isn't just a cool Easter egg, it's a statement. It's James Gunn saying, this universe isn't afraid to go to the darkest corners and ask the hardest questions. What happens when the symbols of hope get weaponized? What happens when peace is built on oppression? And what happens when someone like Peacemaker, who's literally been a pawn for corrupt systems his entire life, is forced to finally choose which version of peace he stands for? And let's be real, that choice is coming, because this alternate Earth isn't here just to be a pretty set dressing. It's crucible. It's going to squeeze Peacemaker until he either grows into someone who can actually recognize and fight for real peace, or collapses into someone who chooses the comfort of lies. And Rick Flag Jr. is the emotional anchor of that test. He's the face of Chris's guilt, the one man he can't ignore. And now he's been twisted into this reflection of a poisoned world. If Chris clings to him, he's basically choosing the illusion. If Chris lets him go, he's finally admitting the truth about what he did. Either way, for Peacemaker, it's devastating. Zooming out to the bigger DCU, this is genius because it ties Peacemaker directly to the larger multiverse plans without losing the raunchy, grounded, character-driven vibe of the show. It's not just about butterflies or goofy helmets. This is about foundations of the DCU, about how different worlds can show us the best and worst versions of our heroes, and how those choices ripple across the entire multiverse. Earth X sets up the possibility for massive crossovers down the line, introduces the idea of heroes being warped by ideology, and gives Gunn a way to weave in characters like freedom fighters or even Overman if he wanted to. But this isn't just fun lore, it's personal. This is Peacemaker's story, and the whole point of dropping him into Earth X is to make him face the ugliest version of his own philosophy. He's always said he wants peace at any cost. But what if the cost of peace is the erasure of truth, the erasure of diversity, the erasure of everything that makes freedom worth fighting for? That's the question at the heart of Season 2, and the answer to that question could redefine not just Peacemaker, but the moral backbone of the DCU itself. So yeah, Earth X isn't just a backdrop, it's the point. It's the poisoned mirror that's going to show us who Peacemaker really is. And with Rick Flag Jr. back in the picture, with two Harcourts pulling him in opposite directions, and with an entire world built on lies tempting him to stay, this season is setting up for a showdown that's going to break Peacemaker down to his core. The only real question is whether he comes out of the other side as a man who finally understands peace, or as someone who chooses comfort over truth. And either way, the DCU will never be the same again in its short little life. Things are escalating quickly. Those are my thoughts leading into episode 4 of Peacemaker. I'll have more videos as we get closer to that, including my review, which will come out sometime that night after the episode drops. I want to thank you guys for sticking around and watching. I want to know your thoughts in the comments down below. Let me know your thoughts on what I just said and your own personal thoughts on Peacemaker Season 2, especially in the comments down below. I read and reply to all of them, so thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys spending some time with me today. Hit that like button, subscribe button, and until next time, may you be the master of your own universe.